Today I want to talk about weight loss drugs. I'm talking about the GLP-1 drugs like wegovy and ozempic. It's easy to jump to conclusions and form an opinion on these, but I want to try and be balanced and look at this from a number of angles without spending days talking about it. Without going into too much detail and science, the drugs work by stopping you from eating. They stop your brain from telling you you're hungry. They keep you feeling fuller for longer, and they reduce cravings for food. The crazy thing is that scientists are still not exactly sure how the drugs do what they do, but the effect of these drugs is often oversimplified and ignores the other unexpected side effects. News headlines are praising these drugs as miracles, showing reduction in a huge number of diseases and conditions in people who are taking them. They don't just decrease your weight, they've been shown to lower your risk of cancer, lower your risk of heart disease, better heart health, fewer cases of dementia, lower risk of stroke, lowering your blood pressure. They've also been found to reduce the risk of suicidal thoughts, seizures, and other addictions such as smoking and gambling. Some of the news articles do touch on this point, but many are going for the sensationalist headlines, which gets clicks and generates revenue. Those benefits that taking the drugs gives you are all found when you don't eat junk food and are not living with obesity. So basically taking Ozempic makes you less likely to have those issues, but so does not being obese. If you eat a healthy, whole foods based diet, you'll have a reduced risk of all of the mentioned problems. So are they some sort of miracle cure-all for every disease we talk about? Probably not. It could just be that the drugs reduce your weight, take you out of obesity territory and down to a healthy weight. And being that lower weight simply reduces the risk of disease. So maybe the headlines shouldn't be implying these drugs are doing all these things. Perhaps they should say that eating decent food has the same effect, but that doesn't always get clicks, and that certainly wouldn't make advertisers like McDonald's, Coca-Cola and KFC very happy, would it, if the publication that they advertise with was telling people their foods make you obese and increase your risk of disease. It's created a food environment that's so addictive, so hyper-engineered and so hard to resist that we now need pharmaceuticals to function in it. But it's easy to see why people are excited. For years, we've been told that obesity is a failure of willpower. Now there's a drug that switches off hunger. Finally an answer. But is it really a solution, or just another layer of the same problem? Because if we zoom out, what we've got is an environment that pushes constant consumption and a drug that numbs the desire to consume. Are there better ways of dealing with this? Of course. If we stop pushing the constant consumption, would we need the drugs to numb that desire? And here's where it gets even more twisted. You can bet that the food industry is going to adapt. It's already starting. You may not have seen it yet, but it is. It'll probably get more noticeable soon. But food companies will start changing packaging and even reformulating ingredients to make foods appeal to users of these drugs. Nestle is launching a range of products called Vital Pursuits, specifically marketing them as GLP-1 nutrition. Users of these drugs cannot stomach the same amount of food in a meal that they used to, so we're probably going to see manufacturers reduce the sizes of products even more. That large pizza will become smaller, or they'll launch a smaller version aimed at the drug users. Companies are already being hit now. Share prices at Nestle have steadily been declining since these drugs became household names. Kraft Heinz, their share price continues to fall. Campbell's Soup is down 35% so far this year, and PepsiCo is also on its way down. As more people go on appetite-suppressing drugs, ultra-processed food companies will look for ways to claw that appetite back. They'll shift the narrative from indulgence to convenience, from treat yourself to this fits your new lifestyle. Now here's the catch that no one talks about. When people come off GLP-1 drugs, the weight almost always comes back. A 2022 study in diabetes, obesity and metabolism found that within a year of stopping semaglutide, participants regained about 2/3 of the weight they'd lost, because the drug doesn't fix the environment you're living in, or the habits you have, or the food culture. It just switches off your appetite. Once the chemical signal fades, you're still living in the same environment, surrounded by the same processed foods designed to make you overeat. The same cues, smells, cravings and rewards come roaring back. You haven't cured the addiction, it's just been paused. Now some people have reported coming off the drugs and not putting the weight back on. I am no scientist and I have not researched this at all, but I've read a few books and kind of have a theory about it. Remember, it's just a theory. You can let me know your thoughts on this in the comments below. The person who comes off the weight loss drugs and regains all the weight has not solved the issue of why they overate or sought comfort from food in the first place. But the person who comes off them and doesn't regain their weight and remains healthy and active, they've basically started fresh. They've rediscovered their true purpose and meaning in life. And that isn't food. Quitting the food whilst on the drugs, even for a short time, has allowed them to look at the world totally different and to almost start again. A new chapter, new behaviours and a new routine. This new routine doesn't involve junk food. If you haven't changed things up day to day or really delved into the reasons why you ate the bad food in the first place, you're only going to see one thing happen when you come off the drugs. So my theory is that the person who isn't regaining the weight has given themselves a reason to not eat the unhealthy food or succumb to the marketing like they used to. The person who regains the weight hasn't changed their behaviour or outlook. It's sad really, because it's almost being oversimplified. These drugs should be issued alongside some serious help, advice, counselling or support and an actual plan to adhere to. So when you come out the other side and come off the drugs, you can keep the old you at bay and stick with that new version of you. These drugs slow digestion, so some people can end up with chronic nausea, bloating, vomiting, constipation. There are reports of muscle loss, fatigue, and nutrient deficiencies because appetite drops so dramatically. We should be educating people going onto these drugs about what nutrients they should be eating each day in order to prevent dangerous side effects such as muscle wastage or osteoporosis. About 60% of the reported weight loss from Ozempic is fat. That leaves 40%, which is muscle and bone. They can be very hard to get back, especially if you're older. So it's wise to be very careful. And then there's the mental side. When your appetite and reward systems are chemically muted, some people describe feeling emotionally flat, like the joy of eating, socializing and sharing food just disappears, because sometimes that's where people find their purpose and meaning from. Pharmaceutical companies aren't blind to this. The global market for GLP-1 drugs is projected to hit $100 billion by 2030. It's $100 billion built on the idea that instead of fixing our food system, we'll just keep people medicated enough to tolerate it. Meanwhile, the same conglomerates that own fast food brands, snack companies and beverage giants are investing in the very same pharmaceutical firms making the drugs. So they sell you the problem and the solution. It's like that tobacco company that own that inhaler company. Eat the junk, take the injection, repeat. It's the perfect business model for them, but not for your health. When is it going to end? What does it take? Who has to stand up and say enough is enough? Fix the food, regulate, educate, and get the world healthy. The drugs may represent a temporary plaster or band-aid to a serious global health epidemic, but alongside this, our leaders should be getting together and working out what to do to actually make our food environment work for our best interests and not the interests of individual people, corporations or shareholders. They need to stop being persuaded by think tanks and end lobbying entirely and focus on one thing only, which is our health. It really isn't hard, and it certainly isn't nanny state or a removal of your freedom or personal choice. It's the bloody opposite, because we don't have any freedom of choice currently. And would you rather have food companies be regulated in our best interests, or let them rule over us, or to nanny us for the rest of our lives? Today we had a bit of a treat. We went out to see family and had a buffet style lunch consisting of healthy salads, some vegetables and this artisan pizza. And we spoke to the man and he doesn't use sugar in his sourdough base. I also had this for some breakfast: yogurt, mixed nuts, seeds. Weight today, 76.75 kilos with a body fat percentage of 21.9%.